This man cannot remain in power.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to my new video. My name's AJ. I hope you liked the clip I made earlier on in my intro. And I know this is a geopolitics channel, but that Oscars moment was one of the greatest moments on television history. As I've said, I did the edit all by myself just to entertain you guys. So I hope you enjoy it. And those who have been following my channel, you would know that my channel adds a bit of humor, sarcasm, entertainment to the world of politics, but I try and add my own personality to the channel, my own individuality. So I hope you guys appreciate, and this is why you guys are following me. So any new listeners out there, make sure you're subscribed. You will get a lot more fun content from me. All my existing friends who have already subscribed, thank you very much, and I really appreciate you guys hitting the like button, helping with the algorithm. And don't forget to comment as well. I love reading your comments. I try and read each and every one of you, and I'm learning a lot from you guys as well, so make sure you keep it coming. I'm on 47 Patreons at the moment, so if you would like to support the channel and you love what I do, then don't forget to join my Patreon, and also you can buy me a coffee if you really like the video. So let's start with the main topic of the day, Biden's speech. So Biden's speech in Poland was a catastrophic failure, and it made a lot of people in the West, especially the Europeans, open their eyes, because he actively wants regime change in Russia. And I know White House has basically come back and said, no, Biden didn't mean that. But when the president says, I don't want Putin to remain in power anymore, I want him off, that is regime change. And it doesn't matter what the White House say, that speech was rehearsed. And it was obviously rehearsed. His script writing team have also obviously written it for him, the same script writers that write for Zelensky. And that he thought at the end of the speech, when he asked for regime change in Russia, he thought he was going to get a tremendous reception. People are going to stand up and clap and scream his name. The Europeans would be like frothing at their mouths, thinking, yeah, look at this leader. Well, he's such a great leader. We're so happy following him. But it just shows how stupid not only Biden is and his administration, but the rest of Europe. His comments in Poland, some of the comments he made in Poland were beyond stupid. For example, he was comparing the US border issues with border issues that Poland has with all of these millions of Ukrainians running in, and he was comparing it to his border issues the American is having. It's got nothing to do with it. It doesn't even compare. I don't know what the hell he's on about. Then he also made a address to the airborne divisions that they might have to go to war, and it will be a long war. They need to prepare to go into Russia. And he also mentioned that if Russia uses any kind of chemical weapons, America would do the same. And again, with the White House has been going back on those words. And it's the same kind of words. And I remember before the war, Biden was saying, if Russia go into Ukraine, if it's a little incursion, then we will see what action to take. But if it's a big incursion, then US will act. And again, it's just empty words and empty rhetorics. Everybody knows this whole war was about Nord Stream 2 and America selling gas to the Europeans. And suddenly Americans are showing off their true color, and the Europeans do not like it. Unfortunately for Biden, his war cry, or his rallying call, you would call it, he thought he would be a wartime president and he would get huge amounts of approval ratings, because in America's past, when you're a wartime president, normally your approval rating shoots up. But unfortunately, it hasn't even gone up 1%. It's still at 34% in terms of approval rating. this Biden admin have got it completely wrong. They have gone all out on this Ukrainian-Russian conflict, ignoring all of their problems at home, completely ignoring everything at home. And they're going all out on this Ukrainian-Russian conflict, putting all of his energy into this. And for what? When Americans are suffering the worst time in their history, with inflation, with gas prices, and all sorts of issues. And now suddenly the EU and the British government, and as well as all of the papers that I've been reading, especially the UK papers, they're all distancing themselves from regime change. They're all saying, no, Biden made a huge gaffe. You know Biden, but it wasn't a gaffe. His speech was rehearsed. His speech was written by somebody, and he said those things, and he meant it. And even the British papers are shocked, and they're saying, yeah, the British people do not want regime change, because they've seen what regime change has done over the years. America has got a huge track record of regime change, and every single country they have done regime change in, that country has pretty much collapsed or destroyed itself. We're talking about Afghanistan, we're talking about Libya, even Iraq. It's not the same. It's completely destroyed. Iraq's going to take another 20-30 years to rebuild itself. And by then, it'll be too late. They have completely destroyed every single country they wanted regime change in. And the EU leaders must look really stupid now for following this old fool. You got all of these so-called intelligent Europeans, suddenly looks really stupid because Mr. Biden has jumped off the cliff, and all of these Europeans are falling off the cliff and falling off one by one. They must be looking really stupid now, because Biden has basically admitted everything. And this couple of days that Biden has been in Europe, he's basically, number one priority was to secure gas LNG deal. He did that. And as long as American interests are preserved, as long as Americans make money from this. In Biden's press conference with Ursula standing behind him, and she's looking completely lost, and she's looking down on the floor thinking, what the hell have I done? And while Biden's happy signing that deal with EU, serving American interests, destroying the EU economy, and he's happy with a big smile. Yeah, Americans are the winners. We've got this amazing gas deal. We can sell gas 10 times more expensive to the Europeans. These dumb Europeans are basically following our every word at the expense of the European people and the European economy. I mean, look at them. They look like best buddies. I bet Biden has been whispering some sweet nothings in her ear. I mean, she's just signed Europeans' lifeline away. I mean, this deal has basically exaggerated the situation, escalated the situation between Russia and the rest of Europe, and Russia is now taking steps, severe steps, in retaliation. So these are some of the escalatory steps that Russians have taken after all of this. You see, Russia insists on ruble payments for gas after G7 outcry. So there was a G7 meeting as well, very low-key G7 meeting. And I know Putin has mentioned that Russia will only accept rubles in the gas deal. And you can see what the Kremlin spokesperson has said. Nobody will supply gas for free. This is just impossible. And it can only be paid for in rubles, Kremlin spokesman said. And the reason they said they do not want to supply gas for free is because dollars and euros are pretty much useless in Russia now because of all the sanctions, and all the sanctions that have been placed on the central bank, and Russia being kicked out of the SWIFT system. So they do not want dollars, they do not want euros. These are basically useless currencies to them. So that's why they said nobody will supply gas for free. So speaking on behalf of the G7 energy ministers, Germany's Robert Habeck said that Monday that Russia's request was a unilateral and clear breach of the existing agreements. He said payments in rubles were unacceptable and called on energy companies not to comply with Putin's demand. So he says this is a clear breach of existing agreements and it's unilateral. What about all of the unilateral sanctions that Europeans and the West has placed on Russia? What about all of the legal requirements and the legal contracts that the West has broken by placing all of these sanctions on Russia? What about all of that? So is it a case of we're the only ones that can break contracts and dish out all of these sanctions, but you're not allowed to do it to us? So what kind of stupidness is this? This is the most stupidest statement made by German's Robert Habeck I have ever seen. There's all of these illegal sanctions, unilateral sanctions placed against Russia, completely thrown out the rule book. They have no legal standing on any of these sanctions. And now he's talking about legality and contracts and illegal unilateral actions. Oh my god, how stupid are they? So let me show you something else that is utterly stupendous. So EU imported 155 billion cubic meters of natural gas from Russia in 2021. That's almost half, 45% of its gas imports and nearly 40% of the amount used. So they have imported 155 billion cubic meters of natural gas. So this is the deal agreed between US and EU, and the US has said we will give an additional 15 billion cubic meters. That's 15 billion. That's 10%. 10% of the total of what gas that EU buys from Russia. So how is that going to make any difference? So people in the West, all of these newspaper articles, they're putting it all in the front line saying, yeah, problem solved, problem solved. EU has basically signed a deal with the US. US has come to our rescue. They are the heroes. Yeah, problem solved. We're saved, we're saved. You are not bloody saved. You guys are all stupid. The West, the mainstream media, do they not look at the numbers? Do they not know how to use a calculator? Then all of these things they have not even taken into account. What about all of these extra tankers they need? All of the extra ships? Who's going to build them? And what about all of these extra LNG terminals they'll need to build in the ports of all of these European countries? What about that? All of these extra costs. What about the cost of LNG? 10 times more expensive. 10 times more expensive than natural gas coming from Russia. And then they have to build all of these LNG terminals to turn these liquefied natural gas into normal gas. You know, it's a huge amount of investments and costs they haven't even taken into account. And look what the British papers are saying. Brexit Britain to replace Russia as energy exporter to the EU and become the world leader. Oh my god, these British papers and British politicians, they're living in another world. Definitely not Earth. Definitely not Earth. I mean, where they get this story from? Even America can't even produce that much gas to provide the EU. They're providing 1/10 of it. And they expect Britain to provide all of Europe's energy needs. Have you seen Britain's gas prices, electricity prices? They're higher than Europe. So I don't know what the hell these guys are on about. How stupid are they? I bet all of these European leaders are looking really stupid now. Especially Scholz and especially Boris. Scholz, in his first year in power, just took months to destroy the German economy. I have never ever seen a more stupid leader than Scholz. And I thought Boris was bad, but Scholz is even worse. In 2 months he's destroyed Germany's economy, destroyed Germany's relationship with Russia. And with all of her problems, Merkel, with all of her problems, she was still, a strong leader. She stood up to people like Trump, and she stood up to American pressure. And she had a good relationship with Russia. And she pushed this Nord Stream 2 gas pipeline. She wanted to get away from American dependence. With all of Merkel's faults, whether you like her or not, you still know that she would make very good decisions based on what's best for the German people and what's best for the German economy. You know she would do that. But you don't get the same sense with Scholz. Scholz will sell his own mother to Biden just to please Biden. And that's exactly what he's doing. He's sacrificing the German economy, sacrificing the German people, sacrificing their future just to please the Americans or just to please Biden. That's all he's doing. He's just a major puppet. And Germany, with its decisions, has completely burnt every single bridge that it's built with Russia over the years. All the bridges that Germans built with the Russians after the Second World War, everything's gone back to zero, destroyed. And for what? They could have easily been a neutral country in all of this. They could have been a go-between Russia and the West. Germany could have been a very good neutral country. But no, Scholz decided to go the other way, burn all its bridges, start sending weapons to Ukraine, completely destroyed all the relationships, all the goodwill that the previous leaders had done with Russia. So this is all deja vu leading up to the Iraq war. So you have all of these Europeans, including Tony Blair, I must say, he's the worst. They were duped into going into this Iraq war and going along with the Americans. All of the West, all of the Europeans, except one country, France. You had Jacques Chirac, who could see through all of this bullshit. And he stood up when all of these Western leaders would not. He stood up against all of this bullshit. And he said, no, I don't believe in any of this crap. But I don't see any Western leader, any European leader standing up to all of this BS coming from America right now. Nobody. What's the world come to? Us as human beings, we're supposed to be more intelligent every year. And don't people learn the lessons of Iraq and other atrocities America has caused over the years, and Afghanistan? Do people have short memories or something? I can't believe it. Seriously, I can't believe it. So I'm going to be finally talking about the ruble, and as you can see, ruble has gained a lot against the dollar recently, and it is it is almost back to how it was before the sanctions were placed. It was at 84.05, as you can see, and now it's 86.75. So it's almost caught up to just before when all of this had happened. And I had also predicted that Russia will start selling their gas and oil in rubles, and it's going to cause an absolute stir in the West. And I had predicted that. No other Western journalist or media or YouTube channel had even said this. And here's the proof. Those of you who have been following my channels and have been following my videos, you will realize that all of my predictions have come true. And especially this video, if you haven't seen it, watch it. There's only 7,758 who have watched it, but I know a lot more of you have actually joined my channel since. I released this in March the 1st, and look what I said at the time. It is around the 24-minute mark. I'm just going to play it now. Russia doesn't not really need to provide gas or oil to Europe anymore. They've got two huge markets. They've got China, 1.4 billion people, huge economy, second largest economy in the world, and soon to be the number one economy in the world by 2030. Then you got a rising power with India, 1.4 billion people again, who will need a lot of energy, who will need a lot of oil. And you see these two markets alone, Russia has enough oil and gas to provide for. So it doesn't need the West, it doesn't need Europe. So if Europe comes knocking on Russia's door saying, okay, we need some gas from you, we need some oil from you, Russia will be like, okay, yeah, sure, no problem, buy it in ruble, because we need you to buy it in ruble, otherwise we're not going to sell it to you. So you see, I've predicted this a month ago before Putin even said he's going to sell Russia's gas in ruble. I predicted that the Russian ruble will have an initial shock and it will claw back most of its losses within weeks, and it has done that. So all of these mainstream media articles and YouTubers who are literally frothing on their mouths, you know, saying that Russian ruble's gonna collapse, Russian's economy gonna collapse, they really don't know what they're talking about. I have predicted correctly, and everything that I've said has come true. And those of you who are following my channel, you know, you are following this because you want to listen to the truth. You don't want to listen to all of the BS that's going around on the internet, on by reporters, by politicians, by mainstream media. They don't know what the hell they're talking about. They don't know anything about economics. They don't know anything about the market, or they don't even have any common sense. So those of you who have been following me, pat yourselves in the back. You are doing the right thing. You guys are very small minority in the world's population who have some intelligence, who have some free thinking, who don't go along with the narrative. So I commend you all. I have so much respect for you guys, so much respect. You know, you guys have proven that, you know, you are way more intelligent than the average human out there. There's so many Western people who are just completely brainwashed, and they're allowing themselves to be brainwashed by all of this BS that's going around by the Western media, by journalists, by politicians. No free thinkers whatsoever. All sheep. Brainwashed sheep. And I commend all of you guys who have subscribed to channels like myself. There's other channels as well, like the Duran, Alexander Mercurius. I recommend you guys to go to them as well. And there's a few, there might be one or two others, but I'm not 100% sure. Those are the ones I normally go to, but there might be one or two others out there. And I'm so glad you guys are not going with the narrative and you're going against the narrative. And people like yourselves are very few and far between. So I respect all of you guys, all of you. You know, you're a very small minority of people in the West. And you've seen the Western media. You've seen how people are being cancelled for going against the narrative. And I just gotta say, carry on doing what you guys are doing. You know, what you guys are doing are very important, and it's also very important for you guys to support creators like myself and others. Thank you for everyone that's been subscribing to me so far. Thank you for everyone that's been liking my videos and commenting. I love reading your comments. That's one of my favorite pastimes. I am learning a lot from you guys, and I'm also getting to know a few of the regulars that comment regularly. I'm starting to get to know a few of you. I try and respond to each and every one of you. I can't respond with a very long message because there's thousands of messages, but I do acknowledge that I have read your message and really appreciate that. Keep it coming, guys. I really appreciate it. And also, don't forget to support channels like myself. You're welcome to join my Patreon, or you can buy me a coffee. So we have reached the end of the show. Thank you all for listening, and I'll see you in the next video.